Hey guys, Magnus Robert here bringing you another video. Today, of course, a while ago I did my Homer costumes ranked, and I'm so annoyed that I did that video, and then, because there hadn't been like a Homer costume for so long, and literally a couple of days later, or I guess maybe a week after I did that video, Homer gets a new costume, and that has pissed me off a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, but whatever, we'll push through it. I guess I'll have to update it. I may actually leave a comment on that video and like say what I put Pride Homer in that list. I don't know. I probably won't do that actually. But maybe I'll have to wait for next year or something, or maybe a few years in the future when there's been like a few more Homer costumes. Let's say if there's 5 more Homer costumes, I think that will warrant a new list. And then I can put the Pride Homer or the Drag Homer even in the I think it's called Pride Homer, yeah. I can put that costume somewhere. Anyway, today we're going to be doing Lisa. I didn't know that Lisa has 20 costumes. Now, I said in the Homer one that Homer's got 20 costumes, and I'm pretty sure that's the most in the game. But Lisa actually has equal amount of costumes to Homer. She also has 20. Obviously not now. Homer now has 21. But at the time when I recorded that video, yeah, Lisa had 20 at the same time. So that's really weird. I didn't actually know that. So today we're going to be ranking all of Lisa's costumes. So rant's over for the start of my video. Let's get into the list. Starting off with the worst. Number 20 is Tree Hugger Lisa. So I think without a doubt this is my least favourite costume for Lisa. By far. I hated the event that it came with. I hated the world's largest redwood. I thought it was largely pointless. I wasn't a massive fan of building the redwood up, and I think the final prize, this costume, was quite crap. Actually very crap for that matter. I mean, there was 10 parts to building the redwood, and then you get this costume as the final prize. And so yes, it is free, but it's just a terrible costume. 1, it doesn't look particularly cool, and 2, it has 0 animations, not one animated task. All of its tasks are within buildings or, you know, other things, buildings or, you know, like decorations. Yeah, to me, that just kind of screams a crappy costume when there's no animations for it. I mean, if maybe it looked cool, it would kind of weigh out that negative, but there really isn't anything appealing visually for this costume for Lisa. I'm not a massive fan of it. I can safely say it's one of the worst costumes in the game, full stop. And so yeah, that's Tree Hugger Lisa. Pin Collector Lisa. So this is a similar case, I guess. I don't think this was a particularly great costume or a great prize. Now, this came in the Springfield Games, a little mini event we had. So this was the part 2 prize, so at least it wasn't the final prize. Just not a great costume, to be honest. It comes with 1 animated task, and that is play the sax for pins, and it's just it's essentially a repeat of Lisa's play her sax task anyway. So to me, like in some regards, this costume has 0 animations as well. I guess they tried with 1, but it was obviously it is just a repeat. So I don't know. I don't think I should get very many points for that. Also, it doesn't look very unique either. I mean, it's pretty much just Lisa with this little vest on her dress with pins on it and also a hat. So there's nothing particularly visually appealing about it either. Archer Lisa is next. Yeah, Clash of Crap, as we like to call it. A Clash of Crap thing. I don't think this one is a terrible, like, it's not the worst costume we've ever got. I think there is a stigma to the update that it came out with, so, and I'm trying to have it so it standalones, but even as it standalones, it's not a particularly great costume. It was free, it was obviously a free prize, but there's just some of the tasks I just don't think are great. Like shoot arrows, I mean, it's fine, I guess, and then judge people from above is just quite boring. It's just her on the recycled tower. I don't think the task is particularly interesting. The look of it is not amazing. It's okay, I guess, but it is just literally, again, Lisa's normal dress. She's got boots and a hat and a bow and arrow. That's pretty much it. So not really my cup of tea personally for a cool costume. Although, yeah, it was technically her. I think it's like one of her very first costumes anyway. It was in her first 5 costumes. So I guess in some ways it is a little iconic, but in terms of tapped out, not in terms of the Simpsons, but. To me, I honestly forgot about it. I forgot that it even existed. So, yeah, that just says it all, so that's why it's here on the list. Elf Lisa is next. Not a massive fan of this one or the Bart one particularly. They were both premium characters. Of course, they came in a bundle together for 100 donuts. It's not a terrible price for 2 costumes, I guess, but I don't know. I don't think it's great. I think a costume should really be like 40 donuts at the most. And if it's a really, really cool costume, maybe 60 donuts at a push. But for like, I feel like a costume should be less valuable than a character. That's just my opinion. In terms of the tasks, it has 2 animations. Spread holiday cheer, which is, it's fine. And make people believe in magic, which I guess is, fine. I don't think that the tasks are particularly that great. I mean, the animations are meh, really. The costume is just a simple elf kind of design for Lisa. It's fine, I guess. It's kind of Christmassy, so as a Christmas costume, I can appreciate it, but I think overall, in the grand scheme of things, this one's just kind of lame, so, in my opinions. And, honestly, in some regards, forgettable too, so, yeah. Gymnastic Lisa is next. So, of course, this was Lisa's very first costume, so I don't know, I kind of wanted to put it a little bit higher. I do remember the Whacking Day update quite vividly. It was one of the kind of first updates that I got really excited for. I just don't think that these costumes are, this costume is particularly great. Some of the animations are okay, I guess, like walk the beam and cartwheel, kind of standard things for this kind of costume. I mean, it's her in a gym outfit, so you'd expect that. It was originally free, which is good, although when it's returned in the Tap Roll event, and it's been 75 donuts, and then it went down to 20 donuts for the mystery box in Thanksgiving and All American Auction. Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's a terrible costume. I just think, compared to the others, it's not great. I don't think the appearance is that great. It's kind of a standard, I guess, sporty costume, if you will. It's like them in a sporty gear. But there's nothing really that, makes me think this costume is that great. Like, there isn't anything about it that kind of elevates it. So, yeah, it's kind of just stuck here. Not really much more to say about it, really. Little Miss Springfield. A lot of people actually love this costume, or maybe not love, but they like it quite a lot. I'm just not a fan of it. To me, it's just kind of meh. Like, I get the episode it comes from, and I get why it made sense for the update, and that's fine and all. It was free, so I'm not going to bash it too much for that, and it was part 2 as well, so it wasn't even the final prize. So that's all well and good, but I just don't think the tasks were that great. I mean, or the costume itself is that great. And it's not that iconic. I mean, loads of people saying it's really iconic in the episode. I don't know. To me, it's not that. It wasn't like the standout of the episode. Bask in Attention is kind of, it's a kind of posing task. It's all right, I guess. And then we got Protest, which is a little bit better. It's a cool enough animation. So yeah, that's my opinions on Can't We Fair Lisa. It's fine, I guess, but it's just meh for me. Oh, it's Little Miss Springfield, sorry. Not Can't We Fair Lisa. Whatever. Anyway, moving on. Raven Crow Never Smiles. So, I hated this costume at first. I remember my opinions about this back in the day when this update first came out, and I think I said something like, oh, this is kind of like trying to mix in Halloween to Christmas. I didn't like it. I mean, I still don't like that Winter 2016 event, don't get me wrong, but I think, I don't know, I think like the whole kind of angle I was criticizing it at wasn't particularly great. Now, I think this costume is not terrible. It's not the worst costume I got. I mean, at least it makes Lisa look extremely different, unlike some of the other costumes, so I guess it's warranted for a costume. Some of the, sometimes there's, certain costumes I honestly just think could be animations and it would make more sense. And then there's sometimes we have animations which I think would have been better as costumes. I'll give you an example. For example, the Africa Martin that we got in the Black History Month, the animation we got for him, I honestly think that could have been a costume. I think there was probably enough there for it to be a costume. But there have been times in the past, certain costumes I just think could be animations. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there definitely are some. That might be a video, maybe one day I could do, top 10 animations that should be costume one, and then kind of do, a top 10 costumes that should just be animations. And I honestly think that way just for a lot of costumes. And then when I say, they don't look that unique, that's kind of what I mean. I don't think they really justify an entire costume. Ravencrow's Never Smiles, though, I do think it justifies a costume, at least. I just don't think it's particularly... It's not... I don't know. I don't particularly like the look of it that much. I don't think it looks that great. Some of the tasks are okay. Write dark poetry is fine, I guess, and the communicate with the dead is pretty cool. Those are 2 animated tasks, so I'm placing it here. I'm not a massive fan of the costume, don't get me wrong, but I think I've been fair to it, so that's it here. Wizard Lisa. I was kind of indifferent about this costume, really. It was free, so that's always good, but there's just nothing great about it. Like I said, I think this one could possibly... There's an argument that this one should be an animation. I would say that it's justified in being a costume in some regards. I like the practice spells task and the conduct a magical orchestra one. Those 2 are fine animations. It's only got 2 animations, but that's decent. I wouldn't have expected them to even bother with animations for this costume, so the fact that they did is a good thing. Yeah, it's a fine costume, just nothing great, nothing terrible, really. It's kind of meh, so yeah. Cadet Lisa, I know it doesn't look particularly cool, Cadet Lisa, the Cadet Lisa costume. It was free, which is a good thing. But it has a really cool animation, which is Conquer the Eliminator. I really love that animation. I think it's a really fun little animation for Lisa. So in some regards, that kind of elevates the costume quite a bit. Practice rifle training is also quite funny too. So yeah, 2 really good tasks, animated tasks in this costume. I mean, the costume doesn't look great, but I think for it having 2 great animations, it kind of elevates it above all the other kind of bland-looking costumes. Queen Helvetica. Now, I honestly struggled with where to put this on my list because in some regards, I like the costume. I think that it looks really cool. And then in other regards, I kind of hate it. It was kind of overpriced when it was originally released. It was 175 donuts. Obviously, it came with the Castle of Aqualia. Later on, it went down to 60 donuts, and then it went down to 30 donuts at one point. So it definitely has, decreased in price, and it's become more worth it. I think the initial price has to be taken on board somewhat, and it is overpriced. So I give it a little bit of a negative for that. I don't know though. It's just something about it. It looks cool, I guess, but the price and the fact that it was really weirdly placed. Like, they still haven't added the girl, I forget her name, but the girl in the episode where they come up with Aqualia, her and Lisa come up with Aqualia. They still, I think Juliet is it? They still haven't added that girl. And the kind of placement of it to me feels really weird. And I know maybe that shouldn't be justification for bashing the costume, but I don't know. I kind of feel like it is almost. We got write stories of Aqualia, which is a fine task, I guess. It's nothing great, nothing terrible. And listen to Royal My Pod is quite funny. I do like how the Royal My Pod came in as well. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of weird for me. I found it kind of hard to place, but I think here's fair enough. I mean, I've taken the price into consideration. I've taken a few other negatives, but it's a fine looking costume and it has some cool animations. So I think here's fair. Okay, Lizard Queen Lisa. I thought I was going to place this very low on my list, but really taking it into consideration, I decided to put this one fairly higher than maybe it should be. The reason why I'm putting it higher is, okay, let's just talk about the negatives first. So the negatives for this costume, obviously the big one is this was added in the final update of the Simpsons Tapped Out, which is level 60. I know that you still can level up. Not final update, final level. I know that you can still level up after level 60, but they don't really count because it's just to earn donuts. You're not actually leveling up and unlocking new content. So it is like the last premium thing, and to add a costume instead of a character to me just feels wrong. They should have added a premium character instead of a costume. 145 donuts I think was very pricey for this and Duff Gardens, although Duff Gardens does have its benefits. Of course, you can make the little things, little decorations from it. So although it's fairly pricey for a costume building combo, I think it's actually worth it. I would argue it is worth it because you're getting a costume, you're getting a building, and you're getting the possibility of decorations. Sneak and Ice Cream, that's not the animated one, sorry. Trip Out on Meds is a fine animation, I think. Go Crazy Around Town is also kind of cool, and Defend Duff Gardens is also quite funny. It's a weird one. I think in some ways this one deserved to be an animation, but then I guess there's so many things you could do in terms of animations with this costume. Although it's a very short scene from the Simpsons episode that obviously this comes from, I think, yeah, there was definitely plenty of things they could do, and they kind of used it to its full extent. They gave us free animated tasks, and because we've got free animated tasks, it's reasonably priced. Also, recently it went down to even 30 donuts, which is even better priced. I think the only negative to this costume really is kind of my disdain for it being in level 60. But I don't think that's really fair to judge the costume on, so I've allowed it to get to this point. I think it's a fine costume. It's not amazing, like I said, and the fact it was added on level 60 does piss me off a little bit, but hey, I'm going to give it this number 10 spot, so there you go. Programmer Lisa is number 9. Yeah, I felt really weird about this one too. It was free, so which is always good. Hack Propaganda and the Code Under the Sun are two fine tasks, I guess. They're not bad. They're just I should say animations. Yeah, they're cool animations. I don't know. It looks okay, I guess. It looks kind of cool. I like the kind of gothic look of Lisa. I think it was warranted to be a costume, so yeah. I just think it's a cool costume, and it helps me remember the event. It's almost like a keepsake, for the event. I'll admit I forgot about this costume, but when I was reminded about it, it was kind of a pleasant reminder, and I actually went into my town and tried out the tasks, and I don't know, I quite like it. There's something about it. I don't know. It's just a kind of a weird kind of, I like this costume feeling. I think it's maybe the event. I wasn't a massive fan of the event, but I think this costume was definitely a decent part of it, so I think I have bashed this costume in the past, I think, but I don't know. I'm indifferent about this costume, really, and so I'm placing it here. Whatever, let's move on. Filmmaker Lisa is number 8. So, I like this costume a lot, and the reason why I like this costume is because it reminds me a lot of the update that it comes from. Now, the Treehouse of Horror update that they did for this, where they added this costume, was based around, like, filming horror films, almost, and Filmmaker Lisa almost led the event. Well, she did lead the event. And that's why I like this costume, because I think she really held the event together. It was like a bunch of kind of unrelated stuff, and they tied it together through the quest line, and I quite liked it. Boss Around the Crew is quite cool, and rewrite a hack script is kind of cool too. I'm not sure which episode this comes from, and there is a chance that this might be a Tap Tap original. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find anything about it, so if anyone does know, please do tell me. I'm not sure if that probably would differ my opinion if it was a Tap Tap original. I probably would put it a little bit lower, but I don't know. I still think it was a fine costume that led the event, so I almost kind of forgive it if it were to be a Tap Tap original. That's just my opinions of it. I quite like that event, that Halloween event. It's one of my favourite Halloween events, and I think this costume really led that event, so yeah. Cool Lisa. So, an iconic costume. I think Cool Lisa is definitely one of the most iconic costumes for Lisa to possibly have. Of course, this was it was a costume in the Simpsons Hit and Run, for Christ's sake. So, I think in a lot of ways it's an iconic thing. Of course, it comes from the summer of 442. Really good, cool episode. I quite like that episode a lot. It's it's a great kind of be yourself episode. We've got 2 cool tasks or animations: Be Cool and Attempt to Skateboard. I think the Attempt to Skateboard one is okay. Be Cool, the Attempt to Skateboard one is good, whereas Be Cool is kind of meh. Of course, this is a friend prize, so I feel weirdly about friend prizes because they kind of came and then they updated them a few times and then they just abandoned that whole thing, which is really weird to me because I like the concept. I thought it was quite an interesting way to improve, social interactions in the game and actually make it more of a multiplayer game in some sense. Although it isn't really multiplayer. They were trying to it's kind of like simulated multiplayer, I guess. And in a lot of ways, I like the friend prizes for that regard. Now, when this costume was first added, I'll be honest, I wasn't a massive fan of it being added because I really think they should have done an event on the summer of 442. I think that still has massive potential for an event. I've actually got an event idea based around that episode, which will probably be a while till it comes out. I might have it out soon-ish, but I'm not sure if I want to do my Krusty event first or I want to do that event first. But, yeah, I don't know, and I think in a lot of ways that this kind of costume should have been included in some sort of event that revolved around the episode, but I guess it's so iconic that it makes sense to why it was added in the Friends Point. So I don't know, I'm kind of forgiving of that. The fact is, obviously, a Friend Point prize is a good thing. Obviously, it's free, as long as you obviously earn it. It's got two decent animations. I would say one good animation, one meh animation, and yeah, it looks cool. So, shit. Saxophone Lisa is next. I wanted to put this very, 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 very low on my list, but then I actually used the costume, looked at the animations, and I can't. The reason why I can't put this any lower than it already is for one simple reason. It has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 animations. Now, granted, some of the animations aren't great. I think play a sax solo at Springfield Elementary and play a sax solo at home. Obviously, they're repeated animations. Obviously, we've got play a sax... Oh, and also play a sax solo at the town hall. And obviously, play street music is also very similar to the other tasks. And also, play a saxophone solo is the same, but she's walking around. So, you could argue that it is just a repeated animation. And I think that's why I'm not placing it any higher. If it was a 5 kind of unique animated costume where it has 5 unique animations, I probably would place it higher. But some of them are repeats. But I do like the fact that it allows you to go to different buildings with that. I'm not against that at all. I think if anything, it's really cool. I think it looks kind of funny. It's kind of funny to see Lisa dressed as a saxophone. I wasn't a massive fan of it at first. It was originally 60 donuts, which I don't think is a terrible price for a costume. Like I said, I think 60 donuts at the most is probably decent for a costume. And then it was 65 when it came in the Helvetica mystery box. And then it was 20 donuts in Thanksgiving and All American Auction. So I think in terms of price, I would argue it's reasonably priced. I think it's a funny enough looking costume. It's her just in a saxophone. So yeah, that is Saxophone Lisa. Soccer Lisa. So I was thinking about the sport one with the gymnastic. When I was talking about the gymnastic costume for Lisa, I was saying like it's kind of a basic kind of sport costume. And I sometimes find sport costumes to kind of difficult to where to place them, especially because it's kind of weird to me because these costumes are like, I think they're necessary as costumes, but at the same time I don't think they're particularly great costumes because it's just them in a sport outfit. But with Soccer Lisa, I think it's quite iconic. I like the episode with Lisa when she's obviously playing soccer. Yeah, and the tasks are good. Practice kicks is pretty cool, and juggle ball is pretty cool. I mean, obviously standard kind of tasks that you would expect for a soccer costume. But like I said, it's a simple kind of sport costume. There's something about it. I just really like it. I think it looks good. It looks cool. And like I said, it's kind of iconic from the episode. So not really much more opinions than that. It's quite simple. So yeah, Soccer Lisa. Clobber Girl. So I have a sweet spot for all the superhero costumes. I think I will always kind of elevate a lot of the superhero costumes above all of the costumes because I just love at least the first superhero event. This one, of course, came in the second superhero event, the Superheroes 2, which I think is it's not a far worse event, but it's certainly not as good as the first Superheroes. It is like a crap sequel. It's quite funny. But I think a major reason to why the Superheroes 2 was bad was because they didn't particularly have any characters to add. A lot of the characters will kind of blink and you miss it if you want. So I think if the Superheroes 2 was added like tomorrow, for the first time, it was added for the first time tomorrow, I don't think it would be as negatively received. I think just because it was earlier on in the tapped out years, when the Superheroes 2 kind of came out, it felt like they were scraping the bottom of the barrel. But the Clobber Girl, I think is cool. It's from one of my favourite Halloween episodes. I really love that Halloween episode. I think it's the one with obviously you got the Collector with Clobber Girl and Stretch Dude, and then you got the Werewolf Flanders, I think, in that one as well. There is another one. I can't think what the third skit was, but I really like that episode. I think it's a really cool episode. Clobber Girl is a fun costume as well as Stretch Dude, but so obviously we got Show Off which is animated, and you got Chill Out, which is animated. I definitely think they could have done something kind of cooler. They could have added another animation in there, and that's why I'm not going to put it any higher, but it's from one of my favourite Treehouse of Horror skits, and it's a cool ass costume, and it's a superhero costume, so it ticks a lot of boxes. Also, it was free when it was first added, and when it returned, it was 60 donuts and then 20 donuts, which is not badly priced. So that is Clobber Girl. Sacagawea Lisa. So this might be very surprising to some, but I love this costume in a lot of ways. The main reason I like this costume a lot is because, for me, it was one of the first kind of costumes I got. I think it was actually, this would have been the second costume I got for Lisa, because I did get the gymnastic one for Lisa as well. But I got this fairly, early on, when 2013, Thanksgiving. It's kind of my first Thanksgiving event. It was also, bear in mind, I was also very impressionable. I knew very little about Thanksgiving, and I knew very little about the story of Sacagawea. So in a lot of ways, this game actually educated me. I mean, I'm not American, so we don't really get taught about that kind of thing in our schools. So it's not very common for I guess us to know about these kind of stories. So for me, it was almost educational, and I think and I read a lot about Sacagawea and Thanksgiving and things like that after I actually experienced this event. So in some ways, it's quite special to me. It's got free animations, which is cool. Cold turkeys, which is awesome. Then we got, obviously, host a peace feast for the Puritan Flanders, which is cool enough. And it also, you obviously need Puritan Flanders, but that's cool. And then care for kidnapped turkeys, which is also a really fun task as well. I just think it's a cool costume. It's got free animations. It was free for 2 years in a row. It was free in 2013, and it was also free in 2014. Unfortunately, it then became 40 donuts, and then recently 60 donuts, which is a shame, but free 2 years in a row, that is a win. Free, pretty cool animations is another win, and also the added bonus that it's kind of got a special place in my heart. In terms of the look, I think it looks fine. You could argue, you could argue that they're kind of whitewashing, I guess, the historical figure, but I don't know. I think it's fine. It was a Simpsons skit, so yeah, I think it's not bad. It's not like they're like whitewashing it as such. They're just retelling it from the perspective of the Simpsons characters, so I'm not so bothered about that. But yeah, Sacagawea Lisa, that is number 3, I believe. Yeah, number 3. Wow. So number 2. Sideshow Lisa is next. So this might be very surprising to some, to why I've got this costume here, but I love the look of it. I think it looks cool as hell. Now this is Lisa's most recent costume. This was, of course, in the Krusty's Last Gasp online. This was free. It was the final prize. Initially, I wasn't a massive fan of the costume, but I think it's a cool enough costume. It's got some cool tasks in it, although it's only got 2 animations. But I think that's standard for a costume. Perform for the people, which is kind of cool. And then we've got quit her gimmick for, that's a 12-hour task, which is also kind of cool. It's another animation. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's a cool costume. It looks cool. It's got two cool animations. It made sense to be added in that update. It kind of ticks all the boxes. Plus, it was free. For me, it just looks cool as hell. And it's kind of weird putting a very recent costume at number 2, but it's just what I think. But anyway, guys, I know I've put a recent costume as number 2, but can we have that drum roll for number 1? There's your drum roll. Number 1 is Jake Wyman. I don't know if people are going to disagree with me this one. I feel like a lot of people love the Jake Wyman costume. I am so annoyed that I missed out of the Tapped Out Awards thing that we do, because it definitely is a really cool costume. Now, I think the only downside to this costume, the one thing you could possibly criticize it for, is the fact that it didn't really fit into the event it was added into. It was kind of forced in there in a way. And that was, of course, the Real Monsters of Springfield event. Now, I want to make these costumes stand alone, and I'm trying to kind of separate the kind of disdain I have for the events that they're added for, or how they were placed. But I think it has to be a factor. So I can understand why people might not put this as their number 1, but for me, I just think it's cool. It looks so cool that it kind of outweighs the kind of the fact that it didn't really fit into the update. Obviously got Fire Off and Study Real Math, which are the 2 animations. I really wish there was an animation with toilet paper on her foot, I guess. But yeah, Jake Wyman, really cool costume. Of course, I love the episode. Obviously the Girls Want to Have Sums episode. I think that's a really fun episode. I love the whole little disguise that Lisa does. And yeah, Jake Wyman's a cool character. That's a cool alter ego for Lisa. That's my number 1 spot. Like I said, Some people might disagree, but hey, it's just my opinion. So if you disagree, please do tell me. But anyway, guys, that is it. This was another over 30-minute video for ranking costumes. Hopefully the next one, I'm going to do Bart next. That one will be much shorter because there is definitely not as many costumes to go over. Then I think I'll do Marge, then I'll do Maggie, and then I'll probably pick someone at random. Any suggestions? Like obviously I know someone's already given me a list of everyone who has over 5 or more. But yeah, any characters you want after I've done Marge, Bart, and Maggie, definitely do tell me. I want to get those 3 out of the way first, kind of get the main family done, and then I'll do the kind of recurring characters costumes. But yeah, that's just my opinion. So tell me your favourite Lisa costume, maybe give me your top 5, or rank all of them if you can be bothered. And yeah, I'll see you next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.